are lots of different ways to create horizontal navigation. However, we're going to take a look at a very common technique that uses semantic markup and works across a huge variety of browsers. Here we have a basic HTML web page, and we've already included our CSS. So once we start working on the CSS, it will already be a part of the page. First, we're going to go ahead and create a wrapper div. And in order to do that, we'll create a div and give it the ID wrapper. And when we get to the CSS, we'll go ahead and use this to center all of the content on our page. Next, we're going to use the HTML5 tag nav because we are creating horizontal navigation. Inside of our nav tag, we're going to create an unordered list. Just like that. And now we're going to create a few list items. So I'll go ahead and create my first list item, and inside of each list item, we're going to have a link. So I'll go ahead and create an anchor tag. And for the href, I'll go ahead and just give it a hash or a £, because this link doesn't actually need to lead anywhere for our purposes. And this first link will be called home. Now we're going to just go ahead and copy and paste this list item, and we'll give each one of these a different name. We'll call this next one something like products. The one after that we might call forums. And we'll just go ahead and create two more here. This one will be called help. And then finally, we'll call this one about. So now we'll go ahead and switch over to our CSS. And the first thing we want to do is remove all of the margins on the body. And this is just a very basic set of reset CSS. We could do a lot more here, but for our purposes, this is fine. And next, we'll go ahead and style the wrapper div. And we'll give it a width of about 960 pixels across, and we'll use the margin 0 auto trick to go ahead and center it on the page. And at this point, we should go ahead and switch over to our browser and refresh the page just to see how we're doing. Here we have an unordered list, and right now it's vertical, but we want it to go horizontal. And we can do that using CSS. So let's go ahead and switch back to TextMate. And we'll skip down here and just make some room for us to work. And first, we want to actually move that list away from the top of the page. So we'll go ahead and put a style on our nav tag, which is already a block level element. We can just apply some margin to the top, just like that. Now, if we go ahead and switch back to Google Chrome and refresh the page, you can see that our navigation is now a little bit further away from the top, just so that we can see what's going on a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and switch back to TextMate. And next, we want to remove those bullet points. So to do that, we need to style the unordered list. So we'll select that inside of the nav tag, and we'll give it a list style of none. So we'll save that. And when we refresh the browser, you can see that we no longer have those bullet points next to each link. So let's switch back to TextMate again. And here's the trick. First, we're going to go ahead and select all of our list items inside of our unordered list, which is inside of our nav tag. And we're going to float them over to the left. Now, these list items start out as block level elements, but by floating them to either the left or the right, we allow other content to flow around them. However, because we're floating all of the list items to the left, each list item will flow to the one next to it. So we'll essentially be creating horizontal navigation. So let's just go ahead and save that, switch back to Google Chrome, and see where we're at. We'll refresh the page. And as you can see, all of these list items are now arranged horizontally. But they don't look very good. We can do a lot more to style them, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll switch back over to TextMate. And the first thing we should do is apply some margin so that they're not all scrunched together. We'll say margin right, and we can just give it a margin of about 30 pixels. Next, we'll go ahead and give them an orange background, just so that we can see each individual list item and sort of see what's going on in development mode. Once we move on to a production environment, we could go ahead and remove this ugly orange background. Next, we'll go ahead and apply some padding, which this orange background will allow us to see. And we'll switch over to Google Chrome and refresh the page. And there you can see we now have some nice margin in between each one of these list items, and we have some padding around the text. We'll go ahead and switch back to TextMate and apply a bit more styling here. We'll select the nav tag and then the UL tag, and we want to select the last child inside of the unordered list, and we want to remove the margin on that. That way, if our list is running right up against another element, we don't have to worry about any weird spacing over on the right side. We won't see that in this particular case, but this is always a good idea to add. Next, we'll go ahead and select our links, and we'll give them some styling. We'll set the font weight to bold. We'll set the font size to about 2 ems, and then we'll remove the text decoration or underline on these links. We'll go ahead and save that out, switch over to Google Chrome and refresh the page. And as you can see, we now have some really nice horizontal navigation, which we could use in just about any website. That about wraps things up for horizontal navigation. Using unordered lists creates markup that's easily parsed and easily styled.